Thank you for having me here. My name is Tiffany Siwarkorn. This work is a joint work between me, Jason Pulakis, and our advisor, Angelos Kouromitis. Since we're talking to be about HTTP cookie hijacking, let me give you an overview of how it works. So let's assume one scenario, like where you have like a user, and then you have like a web server on the other side. Let's say that this user wants to connect to the web server, assuming that this is like HTTP connection. So this is mean that every request and every response is going to be sent in plain text. As always, because of like if this website offers some personalization, it means that your cookie also is like sent in unencrypted as well. This actually gives an opportunity for any kind of attacker or a sniffer to doing sniffing on the network and then able to get these kind of cookies. Of course, after get this cookie, he or she can get into a web browser using this cookie and then get information about that, impersonate it as like a user. This is a simple attack, like we have known it since 2010. So actually, it's well demonstrated in 2010, where we have like a file sheet. Probably some of you guys know this attack, and actually what is happened is attacker is steal the cookie, session cookie, and be able to get into user session. So we know that, and we know that HTTP is bad. We move to HTTPS, of course. It's an encrypted version. So the site that we have seen these days, they mostly support HTTPS. In fact, 40% of the top sites today, they already support HTTPS. This is just a survey from 2016. So every time we see something starting in the URL bar, and we see HTTPS and then the domain name, we really sure that our connection won't be sniffing from the other guy, because they are encrypted and they cannot be read, right? So our cookie will be with us always. But actually this is not the case. So let me show you one of the examples that we have here. So let's say that you have a browser, okay, it's just a general one, Chrome, Firefox, whatever it is, and you just want to connect to a web server. So let's say that you want to connect to google.com, for example. So let me do a quick survey here. So how many of you actually type HTTPS and then the full thing google.com? Can you show your hand? Okay, somebody did that, okay. What about a person who just go and type google.com or www.google.com? Yeah, okay, yeah, of course, we probably do the second one a lot more. So, okay, yeah, I'll stick with the second one first. So the second one, because okay, we have the browser and it's know that, okay, this is URL, so let's do it on HTTP first, because most of the websites support HTTP. So then it's make a connection to google.com. Of course, it's going to be sending a GET request, and then because google.com supports HTTPS, then it's saying that, okay, you're trying to connect to something that's not secure. Let's switch you to more secure page, redirect you to HTTPS version. So browser will know that, and okay, we're gonna do HTTPS. So after that, they're doing TLS connection, handshake, and then finally get into HTTPS. So after this point, everything is secure, right? Because everything is encrypted. And everything looked fine because Google does their job. They redirect you so fast. So for this case, for this particular case, we have one leak here, which is the first connection. So even if you are on HTTPS website, it doesn't mean that they doesn't have non-secure cookie. If they have non-secure cookie, this is mean that these cookie going to be leaked after the very first connection, the first HTTP request. So this leaves us a big question of how important of this cookie is, in the sense of even if it's on HTTPS website. So we actually take a look at the site that support HTTPS, and we saw that many websites, even if they support, they doesn't always use encryption on every page and every functionality that they have. So many services still offer personalization over HTTP. Okay, this is mean that they have to handle both non-secure and secure cookie at the same, on the same website, and they have to differentiate what kind of information can be get access with kind of which cookies. So as you can see, it gets mixed up when the page is go over, larger and larger, and you have multiple cookies. So these lead to a complicated cookie operation, and this is why we having a flaw likely to have a flaw in access control. So we studied 25 major services, different category, okay, and we found that 15 of them explore sensitive information and account functionality just by attacker get this HTTP cookie. We also take a look at the browser extension and also like mobile application for this thing as well. So the question is, what kind of information and account functionality can we get, can we access using just HTTP cookie? Let me show you a couple of examples here. So for the search engine, we look into Google, Baidu, Bing, and Yahoo. So all of them, unfortunately, just getting HTTP cookie, export your email profile and first name, last name. Next, we also take a look at the search and visited history. So everything except Google, they actually like give you the whole history. For Google, they're a bit carefully with that, but however, we're still able to reconstruct it somehow. They didn't give you directly. So if there are any search results that have been visited by the user before, we simply just get that information as well. Look at the text under the search results. For the safe location, because like Google, Baidu, and Bing offer like maps services, so they have user can save the location on their account. So for all of them, we're able to get safe location, particularly for Google, for work at home location, we can just search in the search bar and then we get that information, not just the address, we also get the map as well. For the other service, we get other favorite place that user have saved. So Yahoo is actually another thing that we look for. We explore a lot of Yahoo services. So one of the things that we get from Yahoo Answer is because Yahoo Answer allow user to ask or answer question anonymously. Okay, so if we get this cookie, we're able to review that who actually asked or answered this question, even if it was posted anonymously. So another thing that we get is we also get email notification, the title of the email, and the snippet of the email message. We're also able to extract the contact list by using the feature, the autocomplete feature that they provided when you want to share the news to your friends using your Yahoo Mail. We're also able to send this email address as a user as well. So this is actually potential leak. By just somebody who's sniffing and get a lot of more information and do such an attack. So we also get into look into e-commerce websites. So we found out Amazon, eBay, Walmart, and Target. They all support HTTPS, which is absolutely good, but they support HTTPS only for logged in account and checkout page. So the rest of the pages mean that they are all HTTP. That's why we get a lot of information about that. We get username, email, even item in cart, with list, reasonable item. Of course, purchase item as well. So we definitely don't want something like this to be leaked out. eBay also review your shipping address, and because Amazon and Target, they offer user to send a recommendation of a product page to friends or any email. So attacker can, after sniff the cookie, he or she can do some similar attack, like doing spamming and phishing attack on this kind of technique as well. So next, we take a look at the ad network, okay? And we already know that from the previous work, ads are tailored to user characteristic. So we want to see what we could get if we could just steal this kind of cookie on the ad network. So our experiment showed that the ad is not actually exploit your user characteristic, but it's also exploit your web history as well. So for example, in this scenario, we have on the left-hand side, we have user just visiting a shopping website. We have attackers steal, okay, this person, the ad network cookie. So after it's in the attacker hand, he or she can go to any other website and then try to make sure that that website have particular ad network presenting. Just setting this cookie in, attacker able to get not just only the page that user have been visited for, it's also get a website and also the category that this particular victim is showing to them. So we already seen that we have a lot of leakage. Okay, you can check out the information more in the paper. We actually take a look at 15 websites, so there's a couple more, but since we don't have time, now we want to see if the attack is actually really work in a larger scale. So we want to check if maybe user behave differently on Wi-Fi or not. So we monitor 15% of Columbia Wi-Fi University for 30 days. Of course, we get an IRB approval for that because it's sensitive. We collect HTTP and HTTPS traffic that's going on our span port. And for HTTP, we collect URL, cookie name, and the hash of the cookie value. So because we want to differentiate the user per website by using the hash value, not using the real thing, right? It's too sensitive to do that. For HTTPS, we collect SNI, just to compare the number of connections between HTTP and HTTPS. So this is actually the graph of the result that we have. So as you can see, like the graph is listed all the services that we have the vulnerability. And the number here is showing how many accounts that actually vulnerable to our attack. So as you can see, like we have like huge number of like vulnerable accounts that are being explored to any kind of person who's doing sniffing. So we have 280,000 accounts for just 1 month. Of course, this is like a big number, so we decide to do a responsible disclosure to any other service that's listed in here as well. Okay, now we want to see what are the wider implications of our attack. So we take a look at the Tor network. We monitor Tor network for 30 days. Of course, again, we get an IRB approval for that. So since the Tor user bit carefully with their privacy things, so we want to know that maybe they behave differently as well. So we make sure that we didn't collect any cookies, okay? Because like, I mean, this is like not the good thing to do as well, since they are not part of Columbia University members. We only collect like just the ratio between HTTP and HTTPS connection. So as you can see from the graph here, even like Google, that they do like amazing job by redirecting user to HTTPS right away, we still have a huge HTTP connection in the graph. So remember that our attack has always worked, just like one connection in HTTP is always worked. So this is mean that absolutely a lot of people have like leakage that information online. So based on this statistic that we have and the previous Wi-Fi experiment, even if we're not like keeping cookie for this one, we believe that Tor user is actually exposed to this kind of attack. So we can see that cookie hijacking is actually now a practical de-anonymized attack for the Tor user as well. So we have to really be careful with that. So we look at the current countermeasure that we have. We look at HSTS and HTTPS everywhere. So let's talk about HSTS. So HSTS is the web security policy mechanism. So it's the way, it's let the server instruct the browser to just only communicate via HTTPS, okay? So since like even if website use HSTS, it doesn't mean that the first connection is gonna be on HTTP because HSTS can set in the first HTTPS response. So this is mean that users still vulnerable to the very first connection somehow. Of course, they know that and they come up with like HSTS preloaded, which is like a list of the domain name and subdomain that will be preloaded on the browser. So this is mean that even the very first connection, it won't be HTTP. So if everybody use HSTS, it means that our attack will not work, right? So, which is actually good, but it's just when doing the real thing, it's not always like that. I mean, in practical, there are a lot of websites that prefer not to do HSTS. One of the reasons is like they have some legacy URL or a page or a functionality that is simply not working on HTTPS, and they don't want to fix it. So if you are on HSTS, of course, every connection will be on HTTPS. This is mean that this thing will be break. Another reason, another one is like doing a partial adoption. So one of the examples here, so Google doing like the partial adoption. So this is mean that Google pushed some subdomain in the preloaded list, for example, the one that they consider to be sensitive, for example, account.google.com, mail.google.com. These are in like preloaded lists. However, for the main page of the Google and the regional page like google.com, google.co.uk, they are not using like HSTS or HSTS preloaded. So this is mean that if you type in account.google.com, it won't be leaked because like the first connection is going to be on HTTPS. But if you type google.com/account, even if it's at the end, it's going to redirect to the same page, but you end up like leaking one connection because this thing not protected by HSTS. So if you use HSTS, but if you're not using it correctly, you're likely to have a flaw. Another reason is a recent study from 2016. It's published in DSS. So right now, not many websites adopt like HSTS, and the fact that even if they adopt it, it doesn't mean that they do it correctly. So you can check out the paper. So if I remember correctly, about 60% of the top million sites in Alexa.com, they didn't do it correctly. So unfortunately for that. So we move on to HTTPS everywhere, which is like a browser extension from EFF people and Tor. Okay, it's of course installed as a default browser. If you download the Tor browser, this one is already preloaded. is pre-installed for you. So is this like, is have a collection of rule sets that each rule gonna have a regular expression just changing from HTTP to HTTPS. So this is mean that is good, right? Because like every time we type in google.com, we don't have to worry that we didn't put S after HTTP. So in practice, however, there's still some like, there is still something that is not practical here. So for example, we take a look at the rule set of the HTTPS everywhere. And of course, there's a lot of like site that is not on HTTPS everywhere. And some of the URL is missing from the rule set. So this is mean that not all of the URL are protected. Another reason is like we have found a lot of pages that, of course, they didn't like doing correctly on HTTPS. Like, I mean, they're not functional correctly on HTTPS. So this is mean that if you always put S at the end of HTTP, it's going to break. So these guys like know that, and okay, the way to handle it is to add like an exclusion rule. So if you see this rule inside your rule set, this is mean that this is probably one potential leak that attacker could exploit it. Another thing for HTTPS everywhere, because like it's not that simple to just put S, okay? So for example, here we have like a URL from Amazon.com. The one on the top and the one on the bottom serving the same thing, okay? But as you can see, putting S is not that, right? I mean, you have like on the top, you have one URL, and on the bottom, you have like another URL that completely changed the domain name. So that's why it requires a lot of manual work, and manual work means missing something. So finally, it's also have an option for user to just like reject all the HTTP connection. But you know, I have like said it before earlier, like not all the page work on HTTPS, so it's definitely destroy like user browsing experience. Finally, we want to conclude that so HTTPS hijacking still with us, still a big threat. Okay, so we identified a mix. If you want to use something mixed between HTTP and HTTPS, it's probably not a good idea. And we have seen that service is sacrificed security over usability. Unfortunately, we see the current countermeasure that we have, partial HTTPS adoption, HTTPS everywhere. Doesn't work well in practice. And finally, remember that our attack just needs one single HTTP request that have cookie, and we're done. All right, thank you so much, and I'm happy to take the questions.
Very interesting talk, thank you. So while you were doing your talk, I was reading up a little bit on cookie settings.
Right.
And two things which I saw there were HTTP only flag and the secure flag, which from what I understand, help make sure that the unauthenticated cookie is only set, or excuse me, the cookie is only sent once you have an HTTPS connection. Does that fix this problem, or is there more that needs to be done as well?
So, okay, that is a good question. So it's, okay, the first way that we think about, like, I mean, try not to send cookie on HTTP, is just set secure flag, right? So this means that this cookie is not going to leak out. The problem with this is like, we know that, but people who doing the website prefer that, okay? They're, like I told in the first slide, they prefer to track the user even on HTTP, okay? They prefer to offer some personalization over HTTP, so that's why they want to leave it like that. But again, I mean, if they do it, like, if they have too many pages and too many cookies that they, like, I mean, unable to handle it correctly, you're likely to have kind of this flaw.
So to that point, I mean, you could set two cookies, one to be used in the unauthenticated or unsecure, and one to be used with the secure, and then do the linking of the user in the back end? Or is there other ways to go about it?
I mean, you can do it, okay? I mean, a lot of sites do it correctly. I mean, even if they have like HTTP cookie, they do it correctly, but like I told you, it's about like the implementation. If you not implement it correctly, yeah, you're likely to have flaw.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Nick Nikiforakis, Stony Brook.
Hey.
So I was wondering if your measurements should have gone much further than counting the sites that are using secure cookies, right? Because even if you have a site that only has HTTPS parts, right, but is not using HSTS, and it's not marking its cookies as secure, in your threat model, a man in the middle can essentially, on cats.com, can add a reference for an imaginary source on the victim website over HTTP, and your browser would then be forced to go out, even though there's nothing there, right?
Yeah.
And actually lick the cookie. So I'm wondering, what's the point of all this measurement of finding all the parts of websites and saying HTTPS everywhere doesn't have, all the URLs? Because actually it can't have, because the attacker can create an infinite number of unprotected URLs.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just like, so the way that we're showing the current countermeasure that we have is like what we have right now. I mean, of course, like we can do like more exploration on what you're talking about. But again, I mean, we just looking at like the current countermeasure. So, I mean, even if like attacker can have like millions of URL, yes, of course, it's not going to be matched in the rule set and it's going to be leakage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, one way is, like I told you, to do like everything on HSTS, like, I mean, completely, fully, and we would fine with that. So, I mean, yeah, we can explore on that, like you're talking about, yeah.
Right, okay, thank you.